Powered by Riverside.
Hello, and welcome into TheSadFan, where we talk about the good, the bad, and everything that made us sad from this last week. And it's a little sad that football is starting to come to an end, and the mark of football coming to the end is the end of the college football season and the start of the NFL season. And I think we'll start there, Wes. What made you sad this week?
For me, it was just the blowout in the college football playoff. Or in the national championship. I really wanted a good game.
Yeah.
I thought TCU might actually bring their A game, but they brought their F game, and
100% starting the first quarter.
Yeah, and it just made me sad because it's just a sad way to end the college football year. Just where was the excitement?
Well, the semifinal week, right?
Semifinal week was awesome, but Georgia, congratulations, 15-0, and then 14-1 last year. Probably the most dominant 2-year stretch, even more dominant than any 2-year Alabama stretch. Because the only game that Georgia lost was to Alabama, and they got their payback last year in the national championship. So
avenge me, Georgia.
Yeah, TCU was overmatched. I personally think if it happened during the regular season, it would have been closer, 10, 14-point game. But Georgia was pissed.
You didn't think it was going to be a 14-point game in this game. You thought it was going to be, what'd you say, 6 because of the momentum, the excitement?
Yeah, but Sonny Dykes had no idea what he was doing with game planning his team for this game. And Georgia knew what they were doing. Georgia had them schemed for everything, so...
Mm-hmm. I think they blew their load.
It was embarrassing.
TCU blew their load against Michigan.
Yeah.
That was it. That was everything they had. They unloaded the gun.
I don't think TCU themselves expected to get past Michigan.
Yeah, maybe you're right. And TCU has a pro wide receiver, but that's about it, I think. I think they have a top 10 wide receiver, and that's it. That's all they had. And
Georgia's loaded with NFL talent at every position.
Except for quarterback. But he keeps doing it. Stetson Bennett is not an NFL quarterback.
You just don't like him because he's old.
He's going to get drafted in the 6th round like Jake Fromm. He's going to get drafted later than Jake Fromm was drafted, I think.
Where was Tom Brady drafted?
6, but he's not a tiny person. Stetson Bennett is a tiny human. All right? So we'll see. But got a pretty good track record on these things. It's very rare that I'm wrong about these guys.
I don't know.
You've given up? You don't care anymore? You're like, you know what?
I don't usually pay attention to the guys in the draft until after the Super Bowl.
Uh-huh.
So,
but
I only have a small attention span, so I can't,
What is it? You only have so much bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
You only have so much bandwith.
I can't focus on all these other teams that I don't care about, really.
It's pardon me, Anthony Richardson.
Especially when they suck like Florida.
So let me just say right now I'm predicting that Anthony Richardson is not going to be a good NFL quarterback.
Oh, you mean the quarterback who couldn't even score a touchdown against Oregon State in their bowl game?
And not just that, he didn't play, I don't think, actually in that bowl game.
Oh, he didn't? Okay.
No, I think Richardson decided not to play in that bowl game because he is going to the NFL, right? He decided to focus on the NFL. Now, here's the thing. He was one of the least accurate quarterbacks in college football. Now, there's only one example of this translating well in the recent years to the NFL. Do you know what it was? Josh Allen. That's it. And just because it's happened one time, all of a sudden all these analysts are like, well, if Josh Allen could do it, anyone can. He's an anomaly. He's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. He's one of the best players that exists, that lives right now. And you're like, well, if he could do it, anyone can do it. What are you talking about? They're pretty much the same person. No, they're not. And then they go, well, Josh Allen played at Wyoming, and Richardson played in Florida. Yeah, but that means he had better talent around him, and he still sucked.
Right?
Like what?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, Josh Allen was great with Wyoming.
yeah, he was great with Wyoming, and they're like, yeah, but they went 7-5 or whatever, and he wasn't accurate. And I was like, he had shitty receivers all the time. He had terrible receivers.
Wyoming played Oregon when Josh Allen was with Wyoming, and that dude could sling it.
Yeah,
I didn't think he'd be anything like. I didn't think he'd be a prodigy in the NFL, but I was like, that guy can sling it,
Yeah. Well, what would you say? Is he a top 5? I think he's probably top 3 quarterbacks right now. It's probably him, Mahomes, and Burrow are probably the top 3 quarterbacks right now. Am I off?
I'd go top 5.
Top 5? So then who do you have?
Herbert's
If you
in there.
say Tom Brady, I'm going to slap you.
Herbert and Tom Brady.
So Justin Herbert, because you're a homer. All right, got it.
I go Justin Fields.
Which is also wrong.
I'm kidding. No, Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. Really? Top 5?
Jalen Hurts and Herbert.
Top 5?
Top 5.
Better than Josh Allen?
I don't know. I don't have them ranked, but like I have those 5 there. They're
That's
all similar.
Let's not do prediction radio here right now anymore. You've suffered enough. But but no, I just don't think Anthony Richardson is somebody that they're talking about. It's actually somebody that what makes me sad right now is talking about. Lots of people are thinking the Raiders are going to take Anthony Richardson with the 7th pick overall. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. It's like Anthony Richardson, Tom Brady, like all these people that are going to we're going to be terrible. I'm like, what do you think Tom Brady's going to do at 80 years old? What's Tom Brady going to do at 8 years old?
You guys would be better off taking CJ Stroud.
Stop it. Like, just stop it. Like, I know that's not happening either. Like all these Raiders fans are going nuts for this. They're like, well, what if this? What if this? What if this? I was like, what if unicorns existed? Then they'd shit rainbows. Like, what if? What's really going to happen is probably Chicago is going to trade out of the 1st overall pick. Probably. Because they're probably going to ride with Justin Fields because he's on a rookie deal, right? So, yeah. And he's decent enough. He can't throw in most situations, but the dude can run. Like, he is a great running back at quarterback. And he's serviceable enough throwing the ball to where I think they stick with him and they trade back, right? So some desperate team with a lot of cash
I think so.
is going to trade up. What's that?
I said I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe Tennessee. Tennessee might
get rid of Justin Fields. You don't get rid of Justin Fields, not right now.
No.
Like you said, he's not the greatest passer, but he's like electric, like just running the ball. Like,
yeah. I think Tennessee
gets the offense going.
Tennessee, I think, can put together a pretty nice little package for that 1st overall pick, and they've got Ryan
Tannehill's done. You move on from him.
Malik Willis is done too. They won't even let him play in Ryan Tannehill's instead. Pardon me, because he can't throw either. Like, that's a problem. Some of these guys, like, they're not all Lamar Jackson, and that's almost what I'm saying with Anthony Richardson. Right? Is they're not all going to be Josh Allen just because they have the same build. And what you're seeing with a lot of these quarterbacks, like people were like, oh, Tyler Huntley, he's a plug and play for the Ravens. It'll be fine. They're just going to plug him in, and he's going to do exactly what Lamar. No, Lamar Jackson, get over it already. He's a great quarterback. You're going to have to deal with that, people that doubted him, and we're seeing it all over the place. Lamar Jackson is great. Now, there's a team I didn't name in that sweepstakes, and again, we're going to get to what makes me sad here in just a moment. As I alluded to, it's going to be the Raiders. But I think the Jets might trade up.
Yeah,
I think the Jets might put together a little package, maybe throw Zach Wilson in there, a couple picks, and try to move up and get rid of Zach Wilson, And I think the Bears would probably take Zach Wilson and a bunch of picks to move, because Zach Wilson backing up Justin Fields,
it's true.
Like, he's not a good quarterback, but maybe to back up, that's not terrible.
I can see that.
And plus, that way you get the Kirk Cousins RG3 situation. Do you remember when the Washington Commanders drafted RG3 in the 1st round, and then in the 4th round they drafted Kirk Cousins? You might have that situation. You never know. If Justin Fields isn't working out, you got Zach Wilson behind him. So I think maybe keep your eye on the Jets. But mainly what made you sad, it sounds like, was a blowout. You wanted to see a good game.
Yeah, I did.
I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a beatdown.
But at least you got to watch it from Disneyland. At least you got to watch it from Disneyland. That's pretty awesome.
I mean, by watch it, you mean scoreboard watch?
We have cell phones now, though. I'm sure you looked at some live clips.
Not until afterwards. Nope. Because the first time I checked it out was it was like 14-0, and I was like, okay, I'm going back on rides.
Yeah. By halftime, I was like, yep, I'm in Bahrain. It's 4 a.m. here. Going back to sleep. That's it.
Yeah.
Probably even before halftime, I should have just gone back to sleep.
The best part was because since the national championship was in LA and I flew back on Tuesday, the best part was seeing all the sad TCU fans at the airport.
Like depressed.
Yeah.
They were
just so quiet. They were
I
so quiet.
just, Georgia's really good, like you said. Georgia's a really good team. Kirby Smart's put together a really solid roster. But you know who hasn't put together a solid roster? Josh McDaniels. And that's what makes me sad. Josh McDaniels is just bad. And they're like, this was always the plan. It was always the plan for him to be terrible and for him to inspect the team. No, it wasn't. Like, why are we making excuses for this guy? They went out and got Devontae Adams. They re-signed Hunter Renfrow. They re-signed Max Crosby, right? They were trying to put together. They traded for Rock Ya-Sin at cornerback. They were trying to put together a roster that could compete in the AFC West. And now all of a sudden that didn't work out. We're going to have recency bias and be biased for a terrible head coach who is shown to be a terrible head coach with both the Broncos and the Raiders now. Like, get out of here. Get out of here.
He's bad. He's going to get another year, though.
He is going to get another year. I think he gets another half year. Because I think the Raiders suck again next year. And I hate saying that right now. I hate doing an early prediction. But I have a feeling I'm going to be a sad fan a lot of next year because they also didn't let go of Patrick Graham, and he is the worst defensive coordinator ever.
I think they're going to be good enough to for him to stick around until the end of the year.
No way, dude.
Like, it's going to be like this year. You're going to have that little bit of, like, playoff hope.
They're going to go 6-11.
It's just going to get ripped out of you.
They're going to go 6-11. 6-11 next year. I don't even care what quarterback they get.
I was thinking 7-10, but it was going to be the normal thing, where they go like they start off like 5-2, and then they just like tank the rest of the year. They go like 2-8, and they just like rip your heart out. Like
I told you,
and it makes
he's not going to win, man. Him and Patrick Graham is not a good combination, and Josh Jacobs isn't going to be there next year. The number one running back in the NFL, he's not re-signing. He could say all the right things that he wants to be a Raider. Raiders could say all right. They're not going to re-sign a running back at that price, not with this much cap room. They've got too many holes to fill, right? The offensive line, like as much as they want to bring in the end of the season metrics, which I believe in. You've seen me recite them on here. It's just not a good offensive line. I'm sorry, they're not going to hold up. And you cannot be the coach to set a record for most second-half leads blown ever and be a good head coach. You can't blame the team, okay? You blew more second-half leads than any coach in history. You know what happened in recent history? The Lions went freaking 0-16 and didn't do that.
Well, because the Lions were too bad to get leads in the first half.
That's probably a fair point. Probably a fair point, Wes. Thank you for being a logical partner, and that's a good correction. You're probably right. They probably were too bad. But you know what? I don't see any hope for that. You cannot have that and come out. So those are what made me sad. We're going to lose Josh Jacobs, who was probably the best pick in the John Gruden era. Would be Josh Jacobs, since no one else is still on the team from the John Gruden era, since everybody's gone that he drafted. I guess Max Crosby might be up there for the best player, but Josh Jacobs is fighting for that. They're probably going to lose Darren Waller in a trade in the offseason, starting to look like, because it appears that himself and Josh McDaniels also don't get along. So one of the best tight ends in football when healthy. I'm telling you, man, 6-11. They're going to go 6-11. If they don't, I'm wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. You're simply predicting one more win than me.
I know.
Was it the right? Sorry, I shouldn't have said
well,
that.
7-10. I mean, I don't want to say 8-9 because with the new playoff format, they could backdoor their way in at 8-9.
Gotcha.
But I think 7-10. But like I said, I think it's gonna be they choke down the stretch. Like they're just not terrible from. Like I don't think they're gonna be like terrible from start to finish. I think they're gonna show promise at the beginning of the season.
The Raiders do like to give their fans hope. They do like to give their fans hope. You're not wrong there. They do like to do that to us. Now, speaking of hope, I am very hopeful that Jim Harbaugh does not go to the Denver Broncos. But also, speaking of Jim Harbaugh, I think it's pretty ridiculous that he's about to get in trouble for breaking COVID protocols. And one of the things that they're trying to punish him for, one of the NCAA violations, is buying a recruit a hamburger. I don't even think it was a recruit. I think it was a player, like an actual player on the roster, that he paid for a hamburger.
That's
like,
so dumb.
It's the
So
dumbest thing I've
stupid.
ever heard. A hamburger?
Yeah. And then he called it a nothing burger.
Yeah. It's a
It
nothing
really
burger.
is. Like, we're giving these players millions of dollars, and really we're going to a hamburger.
He got a Whopper.
A Whopper.
Michigan's going to get fined over a Whopper.
I'll just be like, that was because of name, image, and likeness.
There you go. There you
Yeah,
go.
I'll
We
be
were
like-
trying to get him a deal
I'll
with
be
Burger
like
King.
we were trying to give him a deal with Burger King, you know.
Gotta look out for these kids, man. Gotta look out for these kids. What do you hate,
Stupid.
children, NCAA? And the answer to that question
Yeah.
is obviously yes.
Yes.
That's the
Oh, yeah.
question. Obviously yes. Yeah, they clearly
I mean,
hate children.
Again, this is them realizing they have no power, so they're trying to like lash out at whatever like little last bits of power that they have, just grab onto it, and
Trying to punish someone.
yeah, trying to punish someone. It's ridiculous. It's
We just
stupid.
need to punish someone. Let us punish someone.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny also is really quick in United States soccer. I know this is not Wes's expertise, but in United States soccer, there is a story. I just want to make sure our audience knows we didn't forget about it. Yes, I am aware that Giovanni Reina's parents tried to blackmail U.S. soccer into not re-signing Greg Berhalter. I'm aware. And you know what? All right, cool. Now, moving on. You think Georgia's going to be good for a really long time. And one of the things you wanted to make sure we did so you could kind of really let us know what you know is going to happen next year in college football season is start with predictions. And I figure what better conference to start in than the SEC?
Telling you right now, SEC, it's
Okay.
going to be Bama. They're pissed.
They don't have a quarterback for next year.
They're pissed. Alabama always gets a quarterback. Are you kidding me?
They don't
They
always get a
recruit five-star
quarterback.
quarterbacks every year.
That didn't start until Tua.
I'm telling you, Alabama's pissed. Alabama's
All right.
pissed. They're
So
winning
you're
the
picking-
SEC.
So you're picking Bama in the SEC over Georgia because I don't think Georgia has a quarterback either, right? Stetson Bennett. All right.
Stetson, Stidham, it's all the same.
So all right. So what about the Big 12? Who do we think is going to win the Big 12?
I got Texas winning the Big 12 next year.
Yeah, that's actually a good call. So for me, I think Georgia's going to win the SEC. Sorry, I didn't mean to skip past it. But I do think Alabama's going to be good. I do think LSU's going to be good. I do not think Tennessee's going to be as good. And I think that South Carolina, with the announcement that Spencer Rattler is coming back for another season, I think they're going to be sneaky good. Yeah, I think they're going to be sneaky good.
Hendon Hooker's gone, right?
Yes, that's why I think
Yeah.
Tennessee's going to drop.
Yeah,
they've
I agree.
got Joe Milton, who was a transfer from Michigan, who I watch pretty frequently, and he's just super inaccurate. I just don't.
Yeah.
He can throw. He's got
agree.
a bazooka.
I was just saying, I agree. He's not good because I remember watching him at Michigan a little bit.
Yeah,
He wasn't
he's just
good.
not accurate. He's just not. He could throw the ball through a wall, but it's not going to hit anyone. It's going to just hit that wall. All right, so I agree with you though. I think Texas is it. I think under Brett Venables, Oklahoma is terrible. So.
No. I think Brett Venables is gone after next year.
What is this the year Arch Manning gets to Texas,
So-
or is that next year?
I think it's this year.
So he's going to be there this year.
2023. Yeah. But what I was saying though is I don't think unless Brett Venables does like really good and they're competing for the Big 12 championship, he's gone. They're going to start the SEC off with a new coach.
Oh, I think you're 100% right. And you know who should jump all over that?
Oh, Sonny Dykes.
Right now. Immediately.
Right now. Yeah.
Right now. Like you have a lot of capital that could all go away next season. You
Right.
and I were talking about it at the production meeting. Jump on a big job right now.
Yeah.
Like get your bag. This is your moment. Yes, like I said, I agree with you on the Big 12. I do in fact think that it will be Texas. Now, what about the ACC?
It's hard to go against Clemson.
Again, they're also a team with a quarterback issue.
I think North Carolina is going to be better next year.
Okay.
But
They got a
I mean,
stud
again,
quarterback.
they were in the ACC championship this year. So
North Carolina, though, they've
Clemson,
got a stud
Clemson.
at quarterback.
Yeah.
And that dude is just ridiculously good. What is his name? Boaz? Is that his name?
I can't remember, but I remember watching the game against Oregon, and yeah, he was pissing me off.
He was pissing me off. So, yeah, I don't think North Carolina goes. You know what? Your boy, I know you don't want them to be good, but I think Cristobal with Van Dyke coming back, I think Miami has a really good season. Virginia Tech's not going to stay bad, right? Virginia Tech's not going to stay bad. Duke and North Carolina are not going to stay good. I think Pittsburgh's going to be good.
You want to know a secret?
What's that?
Cristobal's not going to do shit with all that talent he has at Miami.
Because he's too old school and stuck in his ways?
They're going to go 8-4.
That's a bowl game. That's better than that. That's better than this year, man. That is better than this year.
That's not enough to win the ACC.
I mean, yeah, that's true. That's true. But they didn't even make a bowl game this year. So, gosh, Clemson is – the ACC sucks, Brant, man. I'm looking at this right now, and maybe you're right. I don't want to go too far out on the limb, so you know what? Damn, I don't want to agree with you twice, but I think you're right. I think you know what? No. North Carolina wins the ACC this year.
All
North
right.
Carolina is the ACC champion.
Going with Mac Brown.
2023. So what you're saying, so you and I are on the same page with the Big 12, SEC, I got Georgia, you got Bama. And then when it comes down to the ACC, you are going to ride with Clemson, huh? I couldn't talk you out of it?
Nope.
All right. So you're going with Clemson, and I will, in fact, go with North Carolina. So Big Ten.
Oh, man. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Really, it all depends on if Jim Harbaugh bolts for the Broncos.
I don't think that. I think this is a paycheck move, bro. I think this is like, hey, they're going to pay me more. This is like this is actually not an interview with the Broncos. It's a salary negotiation with Michigan.
I think Michigan wins it again. I think it's going to be similar to this year, like Ohio State and Michigan, like undefeated or one loss going into that game.
Yeah, you're right. And instead of playing Purdue, they're going to play Minnesota in the championship, and it's going to be Michigan-Minnesota.
James Franklin isn't good enough to get Penn State to the top of the Big Ten.
They're never like, you know what? Joe Paterno did a terrible thing not reporting what went on at Penn State, but they're never going to have a coach that ever does what he was able to do there. Again.
No.
All right, and last but not least, the final year of the Pac-12 in its current form.
Oregon,
you homer. It's going to be USC.
No,
that's coming from a UCLA fan. It's going to be USC.
You want to know who the second best team in the Pac-12 is going to be?
You're going to say Utah.
Nope. Utah sucks. Cam Rising he's too fragile.
Okay. Who?
I don't want to say it, but it's going to be UW.
Why don't you want to say it? That's your alma mater.
Penix is going to be in the Heisman race.
How old is Penix?
That guy's good.
How old is he? 26?
I don't think he's 26.
Michael Penix Jr. He's got to be at least 25. Like he's got to be because he's transferred from Indiana, right?
Yeah, he's Indiana transfer.
Yeah,
he's 22.
Oh, shut up! He's been playing college football since I was 13. There's no way. There's no way. He was in Indiana for 5 years before he went to Washington.
So Pac-12 got rid of the conferences. So the conference championship is just the two best teams.
Which we've been clamoring for the whole time. Not just in this conference, but in every conference. You and I have thought that for a long time. It should just be the two best teams play each other.
Yeah.
So, all right. I like that. I dig that. So we're against each other there. You say Oregon. I say USC. I also think Caleb Williams wins back-to-back.
No.
Back-to-back Heisman.
When was the last player to win 2 Heismans in a row?
Homeboy from Ohio State, the running back. So why don't we move on to the NFL? And I think you owe someone an apology.
I don't owe them an apology, but I owe them a big thank you. I owe the Lions a big thank you, not an apology. I never talked bad about the Lions. I never said they sucked.
You said they were not going to play hard if the Seahawks won.
Thank you, Lions, for getting us to the playoffs. And I just want to give you a big middle finger, Fry, because you doubted the Seahawks all year. Even halfway through the season. Oh, even halfway through the season, you're like, Seahawks aren't going to make the playoffs. And guess what? We made the playoffs. Screw you.
I didn't think they were going to crawl their way in. I thought it was going to be Rodgers. I'm going to be honest. I can be honest here. I did think in a quiet moment, I did think Aaron Rodgers. It's just hard to count Aaron Rodgers out, man.
Honestly,
it's hard to count him out.
I know we're not going to win the Super Bowl, so just seeing Rodgers miss the playoffs makes me more happy than the Seahawks going in.
And he's, again, found ways to make the story all about him, from finding the perfect camera to show him hugging Randall Cobb on the way into the locker room, to finding a way to have all the talk start to arise about, is he going to retire? No, he's not going to retire, because if he's going to retire, guess what? The Packers are going to have to pay him $90 million, okay? He's not doing anything. He's not going anywhere. He's going to play next year. But You already said the Seahawks are in the playoffs. They're not winning the Super Bowl. You gave a big thank you to the Lions for eliminating Aaron Rodgers. They did not give up like you thought they would for having no reason to play, because Dan Campbell, he bites off knees. I don't know if you heard. He bites kneecaps.
Yeah. I mean, and going for it on fourth down, that was brilliant.
He wanted to win.
I was like, go for it. Yeah. Well, I mean, because you're not going to the playoffs anyways.
Yeah.
So why not just screw over your division opponent?
Your rival. You're also not getting a good draft pick at this point, right? If you're competing for a playoff spot, you're also not going to have a good draft pick. Unlike Lovie Smith, who really, before he was fired, I think he knew he was going to get fired, and he threw 2 middle fingers up to Houston Texans management and ownership by going for 2 for the win. And giving the Chicago Bears the number 1 overall pick by going for 2-point conversion against the Colts, if I'm not mistaken, and winning the game so he could lose the number 1 overall pick. Oh my gosh, what a fantastic move. Everybody was like mad that it's a Houston fan, but you know what? Good job, Lovey. You knew they were going to fire you. I don't owe you anything. Have fun with the second overall pick. So anyway, moving forward, as we're running a little bit low on time, because we do have an interview that we're going to lead up to the end of the show with. Let's do our playoff predictions for next week, huh? We're not really a prediction show. Like, we make predictions, and sometimes we're right, and we really like to only highlight when I'm right and Wes is wrong, and that's my fault. But going into the playoffs, Wes, you've got your Seahawks against your 49ers. So how does that go?
Oh, man. God, I really want to say the Seahawks, but I mean, because it's hard to beat a team 3 times in one season. And we got blown out by the 49ers both times. But I think it's going to be a close game.
Okay.
But I think 49ers scrape by, unfortunately.
You know what? I think the 49ers win as well. 3 times in a row. I'm sorry. I apologize. Now, next game up, Jags-Chargers.
My boy Herbert's going to run all over the Jags.
And I'm going to take the Jags.
Nope.
They're at home. Chargers got to fly all the way across the country from coast to coast.
So far.
I think it's going to play a role, and you'll see. And I think the Jags get
You're
through.
acting like no West Coast team has ever won a game on the East Coast.
I'm acting like home field advantage is a real thing, and I'm acting like Brandon Staley is an idiot for leaving in all of his starters and getting Mike Williams hurt before the playoff game. All right? That's what I'm acting like. All right, so I think he's really stupid for that. What about Giants-Vikings?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think Vikings.
I think Vikings as well.
It's going to be close.
I think the Vikings destroy them. And that's my prediction. Now, what about Bills-Dolphins? This is an enigma. I don't know if this is a fair one to predict because we don't know if Tua is going to play.
Dolphins. Sorry, not Dolphins. Bills. I don't think Tua plays. I don't think Tua plays. They're serious with Tua right now. It's kind of scary, but Bills.
I'm going to take the Bills as well. And then you got Ravens-Bengals. Another tricky game because we don't know if Lamar Jackson's going to play. Bengals with me too. This is not exciting, Wes. This is not exciting.
I'm sorry.
But you know what? Here's my deal. If Lamar Jackson plays, the Ravens rally around Lamar Jackson and win that game. But as of right now, Lamar Jackson's not playing, and I'm going to take the Bengals.
All right.
So, Cowboys-Bucks.
Bucks.
Dude,
TB12.
Stop it. You're in my head. Get out of my head. I was going to say.
TB12.
It's not even because of that. I'm just like, I don't think Dak Prescott is good.
No, he's throwing the most interceptions this season.
Yeah,
he's only played 12 games.
He turned into Jameis Winston out of nowhere.
He's trash.
So,
but they had a really good defense.
all right, so for more on the NFL playoffs, let's head over to our interview with a man you guys met earlier in the season, Stefano Angelucci, walking us through the NFC East, what we're feeling, the mood of Philadelphia going into the playoffs, and who he thinks is going to the Super Bowl. All right, so as we're talking about the playoffs, we bring in who wanted to be referred to as our NFC East. What was it? Ultimate expert? Is that what you said?
Turbo fan. I think I'm going to go with Turbo fan now.
Turbo fan.
Yeah.
Is that like a play on Arnold Schwarzenegger, like Turbo Man?
Yeah, that's what it is. Exactly. Christmas just passed. You got me.
Jamie!
I am the Turbo
Jamie!
fan of the almost undefeated Philadelphia Eagles.
I know, and it's thank you for diving right in. It's wild because I don't think Gardner Minshew. I think he might be a top 5 backup quarterback. So it was really wild. 5 backup.
Yeah, I
to
think
be clear.
I think he's a serviceable backup, man. I think he's in a bad system for him as a quarterback himself. And I think if he was somewhere else, you'd see a little bit more out of him. But I mean, it's been pretty dismal. I mean, actually, not even really. He hasn't even really been playing that bad. It's just he doesn't look like a winner. Mm-hmm. I don't think a lot of people are talking like, oh, this is his resume. He's gonna go out there now. He's gonna go get a starting job. And I'm like, starting job for who?
He's ultra accurate. I will say that. Like when he's on, he's really on. But I think he's got that Baker Mayfield problem. Yeah, where he can't see over the offensive line.
yeah. I mean, he just when you have the weapons that the Eagles have to have that kind of showing and to drop those games and put up 10 points against a bad Saints team, it doesn't bode well for your resume.
Yeah, you don't want to lose to the Red Rifle at this stage in his career.
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. I'm going to lay it all on the line.
My question for you is, it's in watching the games, Nick Sirianni is either a one-trick pony or Gardner Minshew is a one-trick pony, pardon me, because it almost seems one-dimensional. And what I want to ask you is, do you think that's Nick Sirianni dumbing down the playbook for Gardner, or is that Gardner just not being able to execute the playbook?
I honestly think it is a mixture of the biggest piece of that actually isn't Gardner Minshew or Sirianni, it's Lane Johnson, right? So when Lane Johnson goes out, you have to move your schemes up front incredibly. It's so different when that guy's out. I mean, he's in my opinion, in my completely, totally biased opinion of the Philadelphia Eagles, I think Lane Johnson is the best right tackle of the last 10 years. I think he's going to go into the Hall of Fame, and
he's up there.
It's pretty tough when you lose that type of guy. I mean, it's the same exact thing. You lose a guy who's in the running for MVP, right? When that guy goes down, your team is going to suffer, and to step into that role, it's almost impossible. You have to redo the entire game plan when you lose not just one of those guys, but both of those guys. Everything switches. So you see a drop in productivity from Miles Sanders because he can't get out. You know, he's got to stay back and block now. And they're using different running backs so Miles Sanders doesn't get creamed back there because they want him for the playoffs, right? So now you're putting guys like Boston Scott back there and Gainwell who are getting clobbered in the backfield.
Well, they're 4'10", both of them.
Yeah.
Gainwell and Boston Scott are like 4 feet tall.
Yeah, you lose Lane Johnson. They throw Micah Parsons over there, who I believe in a NFC East bias opinion, I think he's the best defensive player in the league.
He's the new Khalil Mack. He's the new Khalil Mack.
Yeah. I thought you said or Khalil Mack. Yeah, no,
No. He's the new Khalil Mack. He's got the speed, size to move people.
Yeah, his athleticism is insane. I hope one day he's an Eagle, but I gotta hate him because he's a Cowboy, and I hope he loses every game he ever plays. But with that being said, he's rushing on that side. Dallas is going to crush him over there, and it's hard. It's hard to game plan against both of those factors. That was the same thing early on when you saw Goddard go out and Hurts is still in, and they're like, well, now Hurts is running around too much. He's got to get out of the pocket. But but he lost his best blocking tight end and one of his probably his number 2 receiving option. Of course, his production is going to go down, and those things they kind of slip through the radar a little bit. I think the Lane Johnson thing was. I think it was a bigger impact that we lost Lane Johnson than we lost Jalen Hurts as far as productivity.
With him and Kelsey. That offensive line is formidable. You got that big old rugby player at left tackle.
Yeah, the hottest Christmas album of all time, by the way.
You got the 6'7". I saw that. The 6'7" rugby player. And he actually got penalized for something last week that was just an amazing block. I think he pancaked somebody, and they called it. It was such a badass block that they called it like a holding or something, but he didn't hold him. He just pancaked him so bad that it looked like he held him.
Yeah, it was like when that Will Ferrell movie with the Flint, Michigan Tropics when they learn how to do the alley-oop, and they're like, that's got to be a foul. You're like, no, he's just running people over, and that's just how it is. He hits different.
He's so big. But what you're saying about Lane Johnson, about him being one of the best right tackles, if not the best, is true because these guys in the trenches, especially on the offensive side of the ball, if you can name them, if you know them by name, they're either really, really good or terrible.
Yeah,
those are the two options if you can name an offensive lineman. He's either amazing or he's terrible. And Lane Johnson is great. And you're right. As far as right tackle is concerned, you don't see a ton of amazing right tackles. It's typically the left tackle that you see that from. But you guys now are on a 2-game losing streak. So what's the mood of the city after these 2-game losing streaks? And he's on track to play, correct? Is what I read?
Well, they're saying that he's trending upwards. Sirianni said he was trending upwards. He was doing walkthroughs and stuff. He didn't practice Wednesday. He was limited all week. That's to be expected towards this end. This type of run, right? It's the end of the season. We're going to play a team that's not playing their starters. Of course, he's going to not practice as much. They're going to rest him a little bit more. But he's trending up to play. And yeah, I mean, the mood of the city right now is everybody's cut in half, pretty much like always, right? Eagles fans are so polarized. They're either far left or far right. And it's like, as soon as he does one bad throw, it's like, oh, he's the worst in the world. This guy's not going to win. That's what the haters, or I'll refer to him as the haters, are saying is like, he isn't the guy. He's not the guy. He's not the guy. He's not the guy. You're like, well,
you and I had conversation for years, at least 2 years, that neither of us thought that he was the problem.
No, I didn't think
we thought there were bigger issues.
I think, and not only that, I mean, he's got he's Tebow with talent, right? He's the guy you want on your roster. He's a leader. People, they love him. The team loves him. They play hard for him. I mean, usually you have historic examples across the NFL historically of backups coming in and just dominating because the team rises to the occasion, right? Well, they rise for our starter. I mean, they play really hard for Hurts, and you can see it on the field. When he goes out, everybody's like, damn. And
he's a great dude.
Yeah.
He's a great dude. I mean, as we transition into the whole playoff picture, I recall now that the Commanders eliminated themselves by the inexplicable move of putting Carson Wentz in for Taylor Heineke, which I talked about on last week's episode, was from a good coach, who I consider a good coach, one of the most boneheaded decisions I've ever seen.
I think the heat was on, man.
But Heineke got you there.
Yeah.
With Carson Wentz, you weren't even close to the playoffs.
But if you lose that game, if you lose and Wentz is on the bench, you got problems. If you lose and Wentz is on the field, you can blame it on Wentz. And I think that's,
man. You ride the horse that got you there.
Yeah, I think he's. I would have went with Heineke, but I think that I think he looked at it and he was like, "Man, I got to make a business decision here," and it was the wrong one. It was the wrong call.
He's not good. But what I was going to say about Hurts in reference to the Commanders was, the team's going to play for a guy that writes a letter about fans falling out of a stadium because the stadium is so bad.
Yeah.
When he writes a letter to the commissioner and to Daniel Snyder, like, hey, this is baloney. You can't have fans crashing to the ground.
Yeah.
And he could have gotten injured in that instance. I remember watching, dude, Hurts could have gone down right there, right before the playoffs, too. It happened right before the playoffs. I was like, if 7 to 8 people had fallen on Jalen Hurts, could you imagine?
Yeah, that would have been nuts. And then he wrote that letter right, too, right? He didn't say, hey, this happened. You guys need to blah, 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 blah. He said, what is your plan to fix this?
Yeah.
He wrote that letter right. He said, I want accountability. What are you doing to fix this and make sure it doesn't happen again? That was the right call. And he definitely could have gotten hurt. More people could have gotten hurt.
Yeah, and I think the Eagles did the right move. I think they need this bye week. I think they need to win this weekend to get healthy. They need Lane back, like you said. They need Hurts at full speed. What is your impression? Because that's my impression on the NFC playoffs. If they're going to go anywhere, they need the number 1 seed. If the 49ers get it, I'm sorry. I know you're a big Eagles fan, but I think if the 49ers get it, that defense is terrifying.
Yeah. I don't know if necessarily they need the 1 seed. I would like the 1 seed, obviously. I still think the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. The 49ers defense is very, very, very good, and it's significantly outplaying the Eagles defense right now. But once they get on the field, I think the Eagles offense matches up well against the Niners defense. And I think it's going to be a good game, but the Eagles will ultimately come out on top. I would much rather play them in Philly than play them in San Francisco. But I think either way, the result's going to be the same. It's just going to do more damage to us going into the championship game and going into the Super Bowl if we got to go to San Fran and beat them in there.
Not worried about Minnesota, though. You're playing a dome now. I mean, that was the dumbest thing they could have ever done is put a dome over Minnesota.
Yeah.
Because that was such a huge home field advantage. Like I guess not the Eagles, because the Eagles play outside in similar weather. Maybe not quite as cold,
Yeah,
but
not as bad at that time of the year, but definitely similar. Definitely similar.
Yeah. So maybe the Eagles would have been better off than the Californians out in San Francisco going there. But I'm not worried about the Giants. I'm not worried about. You got to always worry about Tom Brady, but I'm not worried about the Vikings. I think that it's going to come down to. I'm not really worried about the Cowboys. I know that's like faux pas to say, but I think the Cowboys, just like you and I talked about before we started the production meeting with the Lions, the Cowboys got that loser mentality.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy is a terrible head coach. I don't know what the hell that is.
Yeah,
but what are your feelings? Who do you want to see if the Eagles do get the 1 seed? If the playoffs stand as it stands now, I believe it's Eagles 1, 49ers 2, and you guys play the winner of Tampa, Dallas. Is that accurate?
Yeah, which I think will wind up being Dallas. I think Dallas is going to wind up getting the 5 seed. They're going to go to Tampa, and they're going to wind up. I think they're going to beat Tampa, and then we're going to wind up playing Dallas at home in a electric game where the Eagles totally rout them. I think that's what's going to wind up happening.
Dak can't play outside.
No, I mean
Dak can't play in the dome.
It's that. It's that loser mentality, man. It's just that they don't win playoff games. They don't do it. They always make these runs and look good, and everybody, here comes Dallas, here comes Dallas, here comes Dallas. Next thing you know, they get their ass busted in the playoffs, and it doesn't matter. No, they're going to go home packing, and I think it's exactly what's going to happen. And right now, the thing about the Eagles-Dallas rivalry this year is both teams won playing against a backup quarterback. And when we play both teams, it's going to wind up being after an Eagles bye. It's going to be with Lane Johnson back. It's going to be with Hurts at as much of 100%. That's another thing, too, is when you're healthy, right? You can't be more than 100%. So he's either ready to go or he's not. And I think once he gets there, he's going to be ready to go. Lane Johnson, no matter what, is going to be on the field. They're going to shoot him up with whatever they can to get that guy on the field because he's going to play in Philly against Dallas. They're going to wind up beating them. And then we'll wind up seeing the 49ers at home in the championship game going to the Super Bowl.
That's what I think too. I actually see that as well. I think I'm not going to call Eagles Super Bowl, but that game is the game I would like to see personally as just a football fan. Would be those two teams in the NFC Championship. The wild cards to me in the NFC are again, if the Lions find a way to get in, man, I think that they're going to wind up ruining somebody's season, but I think they'll wind up losing in the divisional round. They're losers too. Tom Brady gets hot, but that team around them is not very good, and I think he's going to play the 49ers.
Yeah, he's going to go down with shit. But I don't.
Packers or Lions or Seahawks are all career losers to the 49ers. Seahawks, at least Seahawks in the last 6 years. Seahawks, Lions, or Packers. All three of those teams would sneak in that last seed, right? And whoever gets that last seed plays the 49ers. And all three of those teams have issues playing against the 49ers. Yeah. So the 49ers, I think it's a bye week. They're getting through. Shanahan's too good of a coach.
Yeah. I agree. I think they're going to wind up getting through. I think the problem with the Niners right now is that they're so good on defense and they have so many weapons on offense that it's hard to match up against them defensively. With that being said, once you get up to
they got the best middle linebacker in football.
Yeah. Once you get up to those championship games, once you get to the NFC Championship game, inevitably the Super Bowl, you got to have a quarterback who plays well under the lights. Historically, that's what happens. Everybody has what about Trent Dilfer? Blah, blah, blah. But no, historically, you need a quarterback.
Collins.
Yeah, you need a quarterback who can go in there and win. And the kid's just too young, and
you may not even play.
Yeah.
So Jimmy may be healthy. So we'll see what happens there. They're definitely making it out of the first round.
But that's another the Jimmy G and Purdy thing is another Heineke Wentz thing. Who do you go with?
Maybe.
Who do you go with?
I mean, with any luck for the 49ers, I'm not wishing this on anyone, but Garoppolo's not healthy, and they don't have to make that decision.
Yeah.
I'm gonna end the interview with this. I don't want any predictions because I'm superstitious. I know you already said on the way to the Super Bowl. You've said what you said, but it's funny that you said they're going to shoot Lane Johnson up with whatever they can, because one of your famous Super Bowl champions that wore the dog mask, Chris Long, when he first got to Philly, apparently they were like, "Oh well, we don't do Toradol," and Chris Long said, "No Toradol, no play."
Yeah.
And he's like, you can tell me whatever you want, but if you're not giving me Toradol, I'm not going out and playing. And he's like, so the things that we do to ourselves to get out there are important. And he's like, I'm not knocking anybody for it, but Chris Long needs his Toradol.
100%. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. They're going to shoot him up. I mean, it would be different if they were going to go in there and be like, hey, you need to go on a trend cycle for the next 3 weeks so you can heal yourself. But that's not what's going to happen. Toradol's an NSAID. They'll be fine. You know, it's medically approved. They're going to shoot him up so that he doesn't feel it, and he's going to get out there and play his ass off.
Yeah, and if you watch last week's SadFan, we're not going to do any harm in talk here. We've already addressed it, and we addressed it at the beginning of this show. But I tell this to everyone that's not performed, and a lot of people are just, talking heads on a couch. And I try not to be that. I try to be a measured person that comments on sports. Everyone in every sport gets Toradol shots. Mm-hmm. LeBron James gets Toradol shots.
Everybody.
I'm telling you right now, everybody gets it. You can't play at this level without some form of pain relief. Mm-hmm. And if you've played at any level, high school and up, you've heard nobody's not injured. Nobody at this point in the season, everyone's got a nick, everyone's got a knock, everyone's hurt. Yeah. So you just play through it.
Even if you look at the injury reports for the teams that are left, like the Eagles this week, on their injury report, they rested the entire offensive line. They rested both of their starting cornerbacks. And that's because they're all beat up. It's the end of the season. Mm-hmm. Football's rough. It's like a car crash every time you touch somebody.
Yeah. So last week, Wes went off on the NFL. He's very mad at the scheduling because, as he said, if the Seahawks win, then the Lions have nothing to play for last week. And he's pissed off that the Packers game isn't being played at the same time as the Seahawks game. He thinks it's unfair bias towards Aaron Rodgers. And I said, pardon the NFL for wanting to see Aaron Rodgers and not Geno Smith in the playoffs.
100%. Yeah.
But what are your feelings? Who do you think actually gets that spot? Is it going to be the Seahawks? And this is how we're going to end this interview. Is it going to be the Seahawks? Is it going to be the Packers? Or is it going to be the Lions?
I would like to believe the Lions get in because I like watching them play. The Seahawks have an easier path, right? They got to go beat up on a bad Rams team. Yep. So Green Bay, I don't honestly. Well, the Lions beat Green Bay this year, right? They beat them early on in the season in a tight one. It was like a 15-9 game or something like that, right? Earlier on in the season.
Yep.
And now the Lions are better. I think Green Bay isn't better. So I think the Lions will beat Green Bay this week, but I also think Seahawks are going to beat up on the Rams. I think that game's going to be irrelevant.
Okay. All right. So Seahawks in 7th spot, Seahawks 49ers, Vikings Giants, and Buccaneers Cowboys is how we see it shaking out. I appreciate you. I hope I can get you on next week. We'll try to, if you're available again, we'll try to shoot for the same time and get a playoff preview. Because we'll get you on right before the playoffs start. All right?
Absolutely.
All right. I gotta break out the gear.
Champs ahead.
All right. So, as you heard in the interview, Wes, Lucci thinks that the Eagles are going all the way. They're going to make it to the Super Bowl through the NFC. You disagree?
I disagree.
Okay, because you don't believe in home field advantage, as we saw in the Jags-Chargers prediction. So what do you think then? Who do you think's better? Who do you think has a shot to take him out?
Lots of teams.
Okay.
The 49ers, the Vikings, the Giants.
The Giants.
The Giants. Even though I said the Vikings over the Giants, I think the Giants have a chance to take him out. Hell, don't count out Tom Brady.
Okay, I will stick with my original prediction from earlier. I think the 49ers are the best team in the NFC. I just do. All right. As always,
don't be surprised if Tom Brady makes it to the Super Bowl, though.
Remember, I've been saying this now for a couple weeks, and you and I were like laughing. We're like, is he going to do it again? Is he going to do it again? Is he going to make it to the Super Bowl again? Is he going to make us all look dumb again? All that aside,
AFC. Who you got?
I don't want to go all the way to the Super Bowl in the AFC yet. Buffalo Bills.
I got Bills too.
I think the Chiefs lose another heartbreaker in the AFC Championship. I do. I think last year the Bengals upset them in the AFC Championship, and I think this year the Bills upset them in the AFC Championship.
Bills rally around Hamlin.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun. I think the AFC is a much funner playoffs than the NFC. I think the only reason the NFC playoffs is going to be fun is because everyone is terrible. I'm sorry. I apologize. I know the Eagles had a great season. I just think none of the teams are like outstanding. They're not terrible. Maybe that was mean, but I don't think any of them have separated themselves from the pack. So last, some things that made us smile. Baseball has not been this interesting since the steroid era, with Carlos Correa hopping from team to team to team to team to team. I don't think it's ever going to end. What do you think? Do you think Carlos Correa is finally going to settle here in Minnesota?
Well, they finally signed the deal. So, I mean, the whole thing was his injury. And like the 12-year deal is really long time for someone that has an injury that could that could degrade. So I don't know. Good for him. Get the bag.
All right. Last, Stephanie McMahon. She has said goodbye. She has resigned as CEO of the WWE. That is one of the last of an era for myself, for you as well. Stepping away. And like you said in the production meeting, they still have Triple H there, but probably not for long. As Stephanie goes, so does he. What do you think on that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so too. And if the rumors are true that the WWE is selling to Saudi Arabia, then Triple H is definitely gone. And I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised to see the product go downhill. So
I would tend to agree. We are not going downhill at the SadFan.
Vince got mad and just poisoned it.
You're absolutely right. Vince McMahon said, if I go down, so does everyone else. That being said, we're not going anywhere. We will see you guys next week. One more time, welcome to 2023. And we want to make sure that you guys all know where to reach us. You can reach us on our YouTube channel. Find us in the comments. You could also find us at the SadFan Cast, and you can reach me at TheSadFan on Twitter. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.